So the Pentagon now deployed 1,500 troops to help secure the U.S.-Mexico border.
And ICE moving at warp speed, arresting hundreds of illegal immigrants accused of serious crimes.
Griff Jenkins is in Washington with more. Hey, Griff.
Hey, good morning, guys. And Ainsley, you mentioned promises made, promises kept. Well, guess what? Consequences are being delivered. The crackdown has begun. President Trump could deploy, actually, as many as 10,000 active duty troops to the southern border. And while they may not engage in law enforcement, they will be engaging in protecting our border, including the use of military transport planes for deportation flights. Now, a Marine official telling Fox News this, quote, "Our response will be immediate. We are going in ready to respond. If the cartels shoot at us, we will not stand by. We will be taking whatever equipment we would send if a Marine Expeditionary Unit or MEU were deploying overseas." Now, the 1,500 soldiers and Marines deploying right now represent a 60% increase from the already 2,500 that are there, and it comes as ICE's enforcement and removal officers have been hitting the streets across the country, launching early morning raids targeting some 700,000 criminal illegal aliens that have been roaming free under the Biden-Harris administration, protected in sanctuary cities like Boston. In fact, ICE has racked up more than 460 arrests in the first 33 hours since Trump took office. He sat down in the Oval Office last night with Hannity for his first interview and had this to say.
We talk Venezuela, that's a big abuser, but these are countries from
Iran,
the
Syria?
Congo, countries that you don't even think of, that much more than South America.
Now, here's the important note. Countries like Venezuela, where Trinidad Aragua comes from, or Iran, that harbors terrorists, they're recalcitrant countries, guys, meaning they don't currently take their citizens back. But President Trump told me last month, point blank, in Mar-a-Lago, he said they'll take them back or face economic consequences. Guys?
So, Griff, it sounds like up to 10,000 troops are going to be eventually heading down within the next period of days or weeks to our southern border. The Washington Post has got some juicy details, though. They say that Border Patrol agents are going to block migrants on the grounds that they have passed through countries where communicable diseases are present. They're going to say, you can't come in because you might have something. And they're also, even though they're going to try to claim asylum, now under this new executive order that they're apparently working on, only 2 people in the federal government will be able to allow them to be released into the country to asylum seekers. One is Mike Banks, the new chief of Border Patrol, and his deputy. So only 2 people. That means the flow is going to just stop immediately.
It sure will. And what you're talking about are, we have seen for the past 4 years, Steve, the notice to appear, where they just release them, particularly when they don't have any place to put them because so many thousands were coming. But ultimately, it is the asylum, the remove in Mexico or migrant protection protocols that has been reinstated, meaning that you have to go back to the country where you just came from, meaning in this case, Mexico, to wait for your asylum to play out. But under the Immigration and Nationality Act from 1965, there's a clause, 212F. You're going to hear a lot about that in the coming days because that gives broad authority to simply block and deny anyone from coming across to try and claim asylum on U.S. soil. And that is really the crux of what the Washington Post and what others are talking about. And if you do indeed bolster and supplement your force with these active duty U.S. military troops, you can stop the gaps in places like California, Arizona, and elsewhere where you don't have the Texas DPS with miles of razor wire and extra forces. You're going to reinforce blocking entry. And so that is going to be something that we're going to see play out in the very near future.
Griff, what about the wall?
What's that?
What about the wall? Has he said anything about starting to build again?
Well, you're already seeing the wall, the states like Texas saying we're ready to start moving right now. And there was already an effort underway to get back some of those wall materials that were being auctioned off. I think we'll probably see the White House or President Trump in the very near future talk about exactly what pieces of wall and where they can put them. It's a very complex problem because it's not like you just build a wall in a line, but you can rest assured that Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks has got his people already looking at the most strategic areas to get wall up as fast as possible.
And Griff, real quick, your guys that you talk to, what if they say is the big difference this week than previous weeks? Have they already seen a dramatic drop?
It's a great question, and they say they have been taken off the leash, and they are motivated like never before to try and go out. And as one Border Patrol official told me yesterday, consequences are being delivered, and that's what they signed up to do, and they're finally doing it.
They are off the leash. A new leash on life.
Traffic is slower.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Griff.
Thank you.
All right. So here's President Trump on what was going on prior to him getting into office.
I always say to people, you always like to understand, like in a business, you want to understand the other side. Why do they want something, et cetera, and you figure it out. And there's usually an answer, almost always. I don't understand, why does somebody want open borders? Why would anybody that likes our country, the Democrats, allow that to happen? And even now, I watch them on television, they're trying to justify it. You can't justify it. The only reason it can be is two reasons. You're stupid, and I don't think they're stupid. I think anybody that cheats that much and that well is not stupid. You're either stupid or you hate the country. Those are the only two reasons.
Sanctuary states, by definition, or sanctuary cities, they're aiding and abetting in the law breaking. Okay, they're going to get federal funds.
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. California is a big
Would
example.
you cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
So that's where the big fight is going to be. I have no doubt the military is already on their way. They're going to get the resources to secure the border. So there's going to be a stop when it comes to people coming across. You're going to have to apply for asylum in the first country that you touch, or you can wait in Mexico because of Remain in Mexico. The app has been shut off. So we're going to have a flow stop. But you got people that are still here, 10 million under the last administration, and you got some states and some cities that are going to harbor these people, not going to want to cooperate. And so I predict Donald Trump is going to go after them, and you got a DOJ now that's on his side that wants to follow the law, but it's going to be litigated throughout the courts.
Well, and I talked to somebody at the DOJ last night, and what they've done is they've taken some people who were in a different department, and now they've assigned them essentially to take a look at people in these sanctuary cities, officials, and if they are hampering what the president is trying to do, figure a way to prosecute those local officials. This is completely new. Ashley Moody was the Attorney General of the great state of Florida last week. This week, she's a U.S. Senator. Here she is talking about how there is some resistance to some of these new policies.
Kudos to the Trump administration for coming out like lightning with these executive orders. It's going to go very far in trying to round up so many of these serious criminals that were released at the direction of the Biden administration. Not only did it reinstate a program that allows locals and state officials to cooperate with the federal government, it sets up Homeland Security task forces, it encourages it, but it also says, hey, DOJ lawyers and agents, if people get in your way when these task forces identify and go after these folks and try and round them up, we're not standing for it. That's a criminal violation. Obstruction of a federal function or a federal investigation, it's serious. It's a felony. You can bring criminal charges in some instances, but they've also set up litigators to go after folks, these governments and people civilly if they stand in the way, to bring actions to allow the feds to do their jobs.
It just reminded me of the wrestling match between them. Remember, Donald Trump would say sanctuary city status is revoked, then they would sue back, would end up in the courts, and then the money would have to be restored if the judge says it should be restored. That's some of the battle. My only hope is that some of these city council members are not hopelessly left and can start to read the room and understand the American people don't want illegal aliens, especially criminals, here.
Well, Donald Trump was asked about that last night by Sean, and he said, what will you do about the sanctuary cities? Will you get rid of them? And he said the only way to do that is really to cut off their money. And also, we saw the images of the illegals being arrested. Within a 33-hour span, they arrested 460 people. So that was from midnight on Monday until 9 a.m. yesterday. There are probably more that were arrested throughout the day yesterday. But these are illegals that have criminal history. They are accused, some of them, of sexual assault, some domestic violence, drugs and weapons crimes. And Tom Homan said one of them had actually raped a child. So these are people that we don't want in our country. And I was thinking, I wish that this had happened before Laken Riley was killed.
course.
There was a little girl down in Texas, Nungary, and you went down
Jocelyn.
to Jocelyn. 460 arrests could mean that we spared 460 families from pain.
Right, and with the Lincoln Riley Act is going to be signed by the President of the United States either today or tomorrow. Under that, people who are in the country illegally, even though they've got a notice to appear or something like that, which they think is their get-out-of-jail-free card, if they do something like, and some of the violations are low level, like shoplifting and stuff like that, if they get caught under this administration and this directive and this bill, they can get sent home immediately.
There's one last component that they really have to get under control. So you get those notices of appearance, and sometimes those court dates are 3 years out because they just don't have the amount of judges. You got to get immigration judges confirmed. You need a slew of them to litigate these cases, present the evidence, and if these people don't qualify for asylum, then they need a final deportation notice to go back to wherever the country that they originated from. But if you just have people just sitting in limbo, then that's going to slow down the process. You got to get the immigration judges to litigate.
Well, the first thing is there's no new ones.
Yeah.
No new cases starting yesterday. So just about nobody's coming through.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.